Blessings, Empress Vibrant here. Hey everyone, Empress Vibrant here. Hope everybody is blessed. So I just thought I'd do a general look at the upcoming week. What is going on? Obviously this is a very general reading, so it will not resonate with everybody. So take what resonates and leave what doesn't. Please like, share, subscribe and comment and hit that notification bell so at least you'll know when my videos drop and you'll always be up to the time. So let's get into it. What messages do you have for the collective? What is going on? Okay. Messages do you have? Okay. So the first one we have is adjacent possibilities. So what this is saying to me right off the back is I don't want anybody to be upset if things don't go the way that they had anticipated, because adjacent possibilities talks about the fact that there's lots of different avenues. So it may not be the route that you was going to take, it might not be the route that you said, right, you know, I'm going to go this way, I'm going to do that, and then that's going to lead to that. Possibly you'll be meeting up with people who will show you other avenues that you probably didn't look at. You see from this picture there's many different doors, there's even one coming out of the ground, you know, so there's adjacent possibilities. So it may not be the one that's right ahead of you, it could be, you know, opposite, it could be, yeah, I think this week we're going to need to be open. We have to be open to the possibility of changing the way we do things, or at least if it's not about changing the way we do things, then just being open and just allowing the divine rhythm and allowing the nature to take its course. So although we may have many plans that we had put down, this is what I'm going to do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, this is what I'm going to do for the weekend, possibly things might be shaken up a little bit. Yeah, I'm getting the energy that certain things may not be going exactly to plan, possible rescheduling, possible shake-ups, and maybe just a whole reshuffling of your calendar for the week. Yeah, there are other possibilities that need to be explored, other doors that you could be opening. I'll go back and I'll do a clarification on each that come up. I just want to get the overview of what I'm getting for each card. And then we've got the Goddess of the Moon. So out of the back for me, just coming out of this, in being in the shadow of the full moon energy that we had on the 24th, was it? It's that energy of transformation, like the healing, the emotions, connecting, you know, especially for women as well, going through their moon time, the cycle, monthly, the change in the energy, the change in the emotions, the change in the bodily temperature, you know, there's this real pulling towards connections, And the goddess of the moon is like an energy around supporting you through your emotions, supporting you in the twilight hours, dreams, you know, speaking to you from a place of it's like speaking to your emotions, speaking to the healing part of yourself. You know, also we've got to be very mindful that when we're also dealing with, you know, our emotions, and when we're dealing with the moon and stuff like that, we've got to be very mindful that we are dealing with delusions and illusions. So we have to be able to differentiate between what we're feeling and what is fact. And recognizing that feelings are not necessarily factual. They are mainly tools to express yourself, to observe yourself, to look at reasoning for why that's there, what needs to be healed, and how you can move forward. And I think that goes back to that adjacent possibilities, not necessarily sticking to just one way of doing things or seeing things in one way, rather dispelling the illusions, and being able to deal with things from a more holistic place. We've also got the healer of ages. So also again, we have those who are using an energy of the moon, using the adjacent possibilities to be able to unlock and to utilize their healing abilities. So this is the ability to heal oneself, to look at what you need to do to hone in on your skills. This is also about allowing the source divine to support you through your healing journey, through the energy of, okay, so I have things to do, however, this is not necessarily going right. That can trigger you to feel all kinds of things, like there's a failure element, there is an element of feeling like you haven't achieved your necessary goal. But what we're looking at is the fact that the adjacent possibilities is here because things will change or can change throughout the course of the week, and you're being asked to be really open to that change and not being so rigid. And the healer of ages is here to support you through this particular juncture. So where you may be really fixed on what needs to get done and really clear about how you want to do things, if you see that there's a resistance or there is things that are not going to plan, then allow the divine rhythm, allow the universe to show you, allow the spirit guides to move you, because there are things that are so much more wider for you to see, and it's broader than your view, and it's broader than what you currently see. And I'm thankful that they've got the Healer of Ages here, because not only are we looking in and tapping into our own abilities to heal ourselves and heal others, we're also benefiting from that divine help, from that divine healing as well, which is really, really beautiful. So first things first, I'm going to go into the tarot just to look into what the adjacent possibilities are about. Because for some of you are coming out of this energy, you know, those who are still reeling from the Mercury retrograde and the things that wasn't working and the things that didn't, you know, go to plan, you know, and for some of you, this trend will continue a little. So be a little bit more fluid with everything, so that it's not a thing that's a huge trigger that should take you off of your course totally, but rather allow room to maneuver. Okay, so Tell me why adjacent possibilities is here, please. Collective. Why adjacent possibilities are here, please. Why adjacent possibilities are here. So clarifying the adjacent possibilities, the first thing we have is the Page of Wands. So when we're dealing with the Page of Wands, we're talking about finally wanting to take action on something, not being scared to make the first move, take the action, being quite bold about the action that you're going to take. And obviously this could be in early stages, so it could be for some of you, this is using another provider. This is moving from a service. This is deciding to provide a service in lieu of something that's not working or hasn't been working. Maybe you find a gap in the market. Maybe you find another way of doing things. This is an energy about stepping into something. Maybe it might be a very new idea that's come up. But it's allowing you to look at where you can slot in, what actions you can take to allow things to move the way in which you want them to move as well. And obviously we're talking about pages, we're talking about early, young, something in its infancy. So there is always room to maneuver. So even with this adjacent possibilities, you may find that works, but actually we can tweak it a little bit. We can kind of change things around. You know, there's a little bit of scope for change and a little scope here for moving things around. So I like the fact that that's come out with the action as well. And then we've got the Six of Swords. Six of Swords talks about escaping something, escaping a situation, and maybe even escaping some type of truth or some type of revelation, and possibly even escaping the idea of feeling trapped into one way of doing things. Like I said, with the action, possibly this could be about freeing yourself from the rigidness of the routine and changing the way you do things. So escaping the monotony, you know, the same old same, that kind of energy as well. So possibly that's what's kind of happening as well, where you're able to now start looking to how best can I do this, you know, how best can I change the situation. You know, and like I said about possibly moving away from some type of provider or providing a service for yourself. Maybe you're escaping the need to rely on anybody else, especially when we're talking about escaping a situation. This is obviously things that are not working. This is moving away from a situation, getting the hell out of Dodge, as some people like to say. So it's that kind of energy where it's like, look, packing up what I need to pack up. I'm going to be on a new trajectory. I'm moving in a new direction. And it makes sense because obviously if we're talking about adjacent possibilities, it just shows that there are other avenues to get to where you want to get to. It doesn't have to be an A to B to C. It could be, you know, D, F, G, you know, like, it doesn't have to be in an ordered fashion. You know, instead of trying to see things as fixed or see things, you know, in a certain way, there is an openness of it. And we have the Two of Pentacles, and the Two of Pentacles is about maintaining what you're doing, maintaining your stability, keeping things moving, having the ability to juggle your work and your finances, home and your career, balancing your emotions and your practical tasks. So there is an energy around being able to move out of a rigid state of being, taking action, and also being able to balance both things. Balance the stuff in the material world, balance your home, nurture what needs to get nurtured in the home, but also take care of your coin, that kind of thing. So balancing the practical with the emotional as well also plays into the full moon energy that we're in shadow of as well. And then we have the Hierophant. So the Hierophant speaks about tradition, and it talks about religious and spiritual practices, and it talks about doing things in a specific way, and possibly I think that's what's being moved out. I think the escaping is a part of escaping a rigid way of seeing things and being open to a new holistic way of seeing things. So using your spiritual aspects to be able to support you in the physical realm. So using your spiritual powers, remembering that you're the great alchemist, remembering that you're able to manifest, change the way you look at a thing, and that will be able to support you while you're moving through these possible changes and possible movements to the plan. And for some of you, this is really jarring because people don't want their plans to be moved around, So let's find out what's going on with the goddess of the moon. Goddess of the moon, please. So we have the King of Swords. So the King of Swords is about getting stuff done, cutting away things that do not work. The King of Swords always knows why he's doing something, who it will benefit, and usually it's for the well-being of everybody involved. So possibly you recognize that for you to go through this healing scenario, going through this full moon energy, allowing the goddess to illuminate things for you, bring things to the surface, is there for you to observe, for you to look at, for you to say, okay, this is what I could move around, this is how I can shift this thing. Especially when we're talking about emotions and stuff coming to the surface, so that you're able to cut those people, places and things out so that you can actually allow yourself some space to maneuver, allowing yourself the space to look at other avenues, be open to that change. Especially when sometimes we, we'll feel that, okay, we're all right now, but something just comes up that we thought that we dealt with. That's really difficult at times. It's very triggering, and it feels like it can set you back. However, if you can look at it from a King of Swords type of way, why is this coming up? Why is this coming up? How will it serve me to look at this and then to finally let it go, accept, cut this particular habit out, work towards my greatness, that will support you, and allowing the goddess of the moon to support you through all of the emotions that come up to the surface, support you with all of the healing, and been able to help cut the delusions, so that when you're not seeing things clearly because you've been taken over by the emotions, that you can actually be like, nah, am I deep in this thing properly, or am I bugging? That type of energy. Take some time to really look at yourself like, so I may feel pissed about this situation, but why do I feel pissed? Have I been mocked? Am I mocking myself? Have I put, enough energy into what it is that I say I want? How am I showing up? What does this action say about me? All of those things help us to really observe who we are. Then we've got the Ace of Wands. So this is unlimited potential. So unlimited potential actions to be taken through healing, through observation, through collaborations, through interacting and participating with those who we have in and around our energy and our space. Aces are about untapped resource, so it's like there's unlimited, there's jobs that we can look into, different sorts of career things, having a certain type of communication that helps to lead you towards something else. And again, it goes back to that adjacent possibilities, having a communication with the right person at the right time, possibly maybe someone who you wouldn't even expect to be able to bump into, or to have a communication around business and commerce and things. Maybe this is somebody who you didn't even look at, who would have that particular type of knowledge that you could actually utilize, and all of those energies as well. So be open to the healing process, be open again to addressing things, to take on and to utilize all of the opportunities that come up, especially with the adjacent possibilities. It may be jarring in the first instant because you've had things mapped out, you've done already, got your blueprint, you know what you want, but there is another way of doing things. And possibly for some of you, this is about rewriting history. For some of you, you're really trying to break chains, you're breaking generational curses, and I think that's why things seem to be really important to you at this time. However, although it's really important, also realize that even the bends in the road, the fork in the roads, the obstacles are also there to show you what you're made of, to see what you're going to do in cases where adversity pops up, frustration and all of that. So be mindful of that, especially around this time as well, because we are going through so much up leveling, and receiving so many downloads, and deciding who and what we are and how we want to show up, in the world. We're bound to have to shed a few things that don't make no sense, escape our old selves, die in one aspect in order to be rebirthed into a brand new person, fully ready to commit to a brand new way of being. And I think that moves us nicely on into the Healer of Ages. So we know that there's support here, in the spirit realm, and this is also about those of us who are healing actively, those of us who are supporting people healing, and those who are healers by nature. I think there is a real energy around being quite sensitive to the energies, recognizing where healing is necessary. Yeah. Tell me a bit more about the Healer of Ages. The Healer of Ages. Okay. So the Healer of Ages is here to help us to break free. So the Eight of Swords talks about feeling trapped and feeling bound. You can see how this person is feeling trapped and bound, feeling like there's no way of getting out. And sometimes that's how it feels when the emotions are so heavy, and when the healing is there to be had. Sometimes it's like, where the hell to begin, and you just feel like, oh, it's too much horrible things has happened, am I destined to go through all of this stuff? When is things going to pick up for me, but this Eight of Swords also allows us to really look at the truth of it. And the truth of many things is that we tend to be the ones in our own way. So we may look at, our environment, or what happened with our, when in our childhood, or what our parents did or didn't do, what happened with school, what did or didn't happen with school, that created this legacy or created the way you are living your life. And then there is the next part where we're able to actually take a stock and look at the decisions that we ourselves made, or the limitations that we put on ourselves that meant that we didn't utilize our gifts and our abilities. And a lot of this feeling of, this trapped energy, this imprisonment, this bound, can't see a way out, a lot of it is self-inflicted. And what this allows us to do is to go back to the fact that we are our own healers, as well as having support from the ether. There is support from the goddess of the moon for the healing, and there is avenues to look at that is probably different to how you've done it in the past. Possibly this is a brand new way of doing something, holding yourself accountable, making sure other people support you, keeping yourself accountable to what it is that you say you want to do, for the healing, for letting go of the grudges and all of that. And then we've got the Eight of Pentacles. And the Eight of Pentacles is all about us looking at our hobbies and our gifts, our finances, our career, the things that we truly enjoy, the projects, the things that we are putting our hands to. What's working, what doesn't work, how best can we continue to up level and skill up on the things that we have. And this is really an energy of doing the things that you love. When we're looking at the Eight of Pentacles, it's like, okay, what works for you? What can you do effortlessly? How can you change this particular thing, or up level this thing into being something that can be monetized? Or, how can you take it from one level to the next level? What do you need to do in order to do so? And we know that Pentacles is about material, so we're talking about tangible things that we can do, So really look at what it is that you really love. Look at what's worked, what hasn't worked, so that you can do a process of elimination, and that supports with that adjacent possibilities as well. Really looking at, okay, so I've done this before, this only got so far doing this way. Let me see if there's another way that I can approach it. Maybe scale back, take a step back so I can see the broader picture. So that there's so much more you can be looking into as well. So I'm really liking the energy with that, with the adjacent possibilities, the goddess of the moon, and the healer of ages. Okay, so in closing, I just want to get some advice from the animal spirit deck. I haven't used this in a while. Which is going to support us throughout the week. And to be honest, always say for this time or that time, but realistically, whenever you watch this video, it will be the right time. You know, even if it's a month from now, when you're meant to watch it is when you're meant to receive the message, you know. So it's not just for this week, it could be, you know, whenever you need this message. Because we know that, you know, there's a fluidity to time. We need not bind ourselves or fix ourselves into a really small construct or constraint. Get some advice. Get some advice regarding respect for the collective, please. Get some advice. Okay. Right, so the first one we have is Mouse Spirit. Tend to the small things. So there again, tend to the small things. So don't jump into something huge. Just tend to the small things that are around you first. Take some time, especially if you realise that things are not going to plan. You know, maybe instead of, you know, doing a big overhaul, maybe you just deal with the small tasks first, then start dealing with the bigger things, especially if things are not going in the way that you're going to want that you want them to go. This will help you not to lose your ish, you know, when you tend to the small things, you know, and take that energy of the Ace of Wands, the Page of Wands, where it's like taking that one step towards something that you want to do. Tend to the smaller things and then build up as you go along. Excuse me, build up as you go along. You've got Wombat Spirit, be at home. So be at home in who you are, who you're becoming. And for some of you, this is actually about physically being at home, so that when the healing is taking place, you're somewhere that feels comfortable. You know, and being at one with yourself, being at home, it's about being at one with yourself. You know, being at home with the situation, being okay that things have changed, you know, that the direction or the plans are shifted, there's been rescheduling and stuff of that nature. We also have Otter Spirit. You are never alone. So there we go, you are never alone. And this energy, it comes in just to remind you, things might be getting on top, there might be a lot of triggers this week. You may end up feeling quite depleted of your energy, and you may end up feeling like, look, this is always happening, or this is happening to me, and I just feel so lonely. But a Spirit reminds you that you're never alone. Your spirit guides, your ancestors are always here, supporting you throughout your healing journey, throughout your life. You know, you're never alone, even if it's a thing where you don't physically have anybody in your space. You're never alone. And then we have Hawk Spirit. Let Spirit be your guide. There you go again. See, so Spirit's letting you know that they're here. They're wanting to support. Just sort of step out of the way, allow the changes to happen, and recognize that some of the changes that are happening are divinely led. In fact, they're all divinely led, you know. But for Spirit to come and say, look, allow me to guide you through this process, you know, means that you must relinquish some of that control of how the outcome is, and recognize that our view and our scope sometimes is so much smaller than what is actually on offer for us. So in closing, let me get some words of affirmations and some words of encouragement. Okay. So people come in and out of my life for a reason. Okay. So again, things might change, you know, you may end up being the one that cuts certain people out, and you realize that they played their position, they supported you and got you to this particular level, and they've done their bit, they've served their purpose. Or possibly you might need to reckon with that when you feel slighted, or somebody is just sort of, you know, not being as they used to be. Same way, you know, maybe you've been in somebody's life for a certain amount of time and you've played your position, you've done what it is that you needed to do, they've learned what they needed to learn from you, and now they need to keep it moving. So this may help along with the healing journey as well. My passion ignites me. So again, like with the 8 of Pentacles, you know, what do you enjoy doing? How best can you do it? How could you upskill it? How can you make it better? So ensure that whatever you're doing, it does make you happy. You know, your passion ignites you, it makes you feel good, makes you feel like, yes, I'm ready to go, I've got, you know, I'm happy with what I'm doing. And then we've got my relationships are based on my values. So again, relationships are based on your own values. This is not something that you need to be, this is where you're able to cut out what doesn't belong to you, you know. Your values and your morals and what you believe in, you are able to stand in that and not allow yourself to be trapped by some type of illusion where you have to people please, that you have to be around people who you've known, you know, all of your life, or, you know, be in friendships or relationships that you've had, you know, for however long. You know, your relationship's got to be based on your values so that you are able to be true to who you are. And last but not least, we've got I look within for the answers. So again, that's about trusting yourself. You know, going through that healer of ages energy and being like, you know, I trust in the process of this healing. You know, this goddess of the moon energy, this what I'm seeing, what I'm feeling, what I'm observing, and looking within for what answers I need. You know, what is this scenario telling me? What is being brought out within me? You know, it's actually really, really beautiful energy. So yes, like I said, this is a timeless video, although, like I said, initially I've done this for the upcoming week. So it is the 28th of the 6th, 2021. I'm moving into July. And yes, I just want everybody to enjoy the rest of the week, or enjoy the week. Be kind to yourself, take your time, and yes, like I said, any changes, please know that it's necessary for you, and don't beat yourself up. Take your time and allow the healing to take place. Alright, so yes, take care, my lovelies. See you soon.